Alright, well, good morning, everybody. This is Steve. Welcome to the Little Wood Shop and our Sunday evening blog. Well, what do we have for you today? What we have for you today is Vcarve Pro CNC Router Vacuum Table Tutorial. Well, there's a mouthful. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's pull up a copy of Vcarve Pro and let's get started. Okay. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to create a new file. Now, what I've decided to do is kind of kill two birds with one stone in this lesson. We had released last weekend the actual video for this. I showed you what I had built for a custom little stencil job. But what we're going to do is I'm not only going to walk you through a tutorial today, but this tutorial and what I save is going to go back into the cloud because I did two projects in the cloud, the small box I built and a small 2x3. I have since revised the 2x3 footer, in my head anyways, and we're going to do that right now. But what I'm showing you again is going to be transferable to any other size vacuum table that you yourself want to build for your piece of equipment. Okay? Alright. Hang on, everybody. Here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set our job size. I'm going to make this one 24.0 by 36.0. We're going to be working with 3/4 of an inch MDF. I told you I always start my datum position from the center. Unit of measurement in the United States is inches. Alright, I'm going to also click on my tool paths, open these up, lock them in place. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I want to put 1.5 inch border around all of this. So that's what we're going to do. I also want to put an external radius of 1.5 inches because I'm going to hog the center of this out. This is coincidentally, this is the bottom of our vacuum table. We're going to do this out of strictly 2 pieces of MDF, and there's going to absolutely be no parts in between. We're going to sandwich this thing together, and we're going to keep the height of this to a minimal. It's going to buy a little bit more room under your Z-axis, as well as close down the amount of volume inside that has to actually have the air sucked out of it, okay? Alright, so we want to pull 1.5 inches off of each side. So 1.5 inches off 24 is 21 point, and 1.5 inches off each end would be 3 off 36 would be 33.0. Let's click apply. We have our 1.5 inch radiuses because ultimately what I'm going to be using, in fact, is a 1.5 inch spoiler board bit for all my hogging out. Let's close this out. Let's light him up again. Let's come over to transform objects, align selected objects. Let's get him dead center. This outer edge is basically going to be a glue and screw. The top that sandwiches on this will get small pilot holes for the screws to go in to hold this together. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to put a pocket in here. That pocket is ultimately is going to go down through the bottom of my table. I think that for the sake of myself, I am in fact going to probably build this 2x3 for myself, so that I can have a bigger vacuum table that I can take off and on my own spoiler board. We're going to say, for the sake of argument, that the hole that I need to put in the bottom of this is, we'll say 2.5 inches. We're going to center him, transform objects, come over to the center. Pow. He's now centered. Alright. Now the next thing that I'm going to want to put in, the wider these get, I am going to want something in the center of this to support it, because what I don't want is when we turn the vacuum on, or the pump system, whatever it is we decide to use with this, I don't want the top to get pulled down. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into Create Vectors, and the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to create a 2 inch by 2 inch box. We'll come down here, 2 point, Same thing over here. 2 point. Let's click apply. Let's close it. What I'm going to do with him, I'm going to set him up towards the top. I don't care about if he's level or not. He's strictly for a measurement reference, no more. Yes, I could use the guidelines coming down the side, but I'm too lazy to go find my glasses, okay? Guidelines, we're going to put in a horizontal right here. Alright, I'm going to come down and do the exact same thing at the bottom. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert another horizontal guideline. And we'll see why we're doing this in just a moment. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull our box up. Because I, in fact, am going to want 2 inches of clearance away from this hole. Let's right click. Do another guideline. Get him in place. And above our hole. Right click, guidelines, insert a horizontal, pull him down. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we're just going to come over here, highlight our box. Let's move him right out of the way. Now, the reason we just did this, I told you, is I need to put some type of support in the middle. Now, I am going to ultimately put in a 1 inch by, we'll go 1 inch wide, or let's go 1 1/4 by 11 1/4, and we're going to click apply, close him out. Now, we have 2 inches of clearance here, and we have 2 inches of clearance down here. This will all come together in just a minute. Alright, one thing I will do is I'm going to make sure that I'm centered. To do that, we go back into our transform objects, align selected objects. I want to be centered on my y-axis. There we go there. We're going to highlight him. We're going to right click. We're going to copy. We're going to right click, and then we're going to paste. We're going to take our extra one and we're going to bring him down here. We can eyeball them because it's not, tolerances here aren't super critical. Alright, and did the same thing again. I went to my align objects. I centered him on my y-axis. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are, in fact, going to probably drop in a couple more of these. However, what I think I'll do is we'll create some new ones here. And I want a long one that can go all the way down to the bottom. Again, I want my width to be 1.25. And we're saying that my height is 29 inches. Let's click apply. Let's click close. Now, you're going to need to bear with me for just a minute. We're merely going to drop these into place. I don't know exactly where they're going to fall just yet until we do the top. And you'll see why after we've completed the top, okay? But again, we'll just leave these here for the moment. Let's right click, let's copy, let's right click, and let's paste him. We're going to pull the next one over. Now what's going to happen is we're going to hog out everything around all of this. And I think I will probably even take a small section out here. Let's bring our 2-inch box back in. We'll come over to transform objects. I'm going to center the box. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I am also going to come in. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert another horizontal guideline. I'm going to right click. I'm going to highlight and I'm going to insert another horizontal guideline. Let's pull him up. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to our bar that we just built here. These are our bars. Ultimately we're going to put a 2-inch gap. I want enough air to be able to flow in and around all of this. Like I said, this is the bottom of our project, but we'll do this real quick, and we'll try to do our best to keep this video down. Let's come over to Edit Objects, and let's hit our Node Editing tab. highlight our bar, come down, right click, insert a point, right click, insert a point, again, right click, insert a point, again, right click, insert a point. Awesome. Well, at this point now you can highlight your box. You can just delete it. You don't need it. Let's come in here. Let's right click. Let's delete the span. Right click. Oh, make sure our little tail is lit up here. Right click, delete the span. Now what I'm going to do is attach them by coming down to Edit Objects again, join and close vectors with a straight line. We're going to do that for that one. And we're going to do that for that one. Great. Now we'll come over here. Same thing again. Edit Objects, Node Edit. I'll bang these out real quick. Alright, now that this is all done, let's come up here and let's delete our guidelines. We do not need them anymore. We're going to get them all out of here. Now, our bottom is programmed. Oh, helps if I don't take them completely off the screen. Let's bring them in. Now, there's only two tool paths that we're going to cut here. This is 3/4, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to pocket out this hole. We'll call this center hole. We know that the material is 750 thousandths. I will go down 765 thousandths. Now, yes, for our center hole, we could cut it out with a 1/4" end mill, leave tabs and all that happiness, but because I do not want to do a bit change, we're not going to do it that way. Alright, so we're just going to pocket out this hole right straight through the table. We're going to go down 765 thousandths with my 1.5" spoiler bit under a conventional cut direction. Let's hit calculate. Yes, we know we're going to go through the table. Okay, let's close him up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pocket out all of this. Now, yes, you could take and do this on a bigger sheet and you could cut the edge out. I don't consider this do-it-yourself project so critical that I need to do it that way. I would cut my material down to exactly what I needed. I would find center the best I could, and if I was off a few thousandths, it will not be the end of the world, okay? Let's pocket out our center now. We told you we are going to go down 375 thousandths. That is half of our 3/4 inch, okay? Let's take, and again, we're going to use the same 1.5" spoiler board bit. You can go in and edit this to the feeds and speeds of your machine. I know somebody with a bigger spindle can go faster than I can, and somebody with a smaller router than me would probably need to go a little slower, okay? So I'm going to leave it up to you to adjust your feeds and speeds. Okay, we're just going to call this center. What we'll do is we'll go in. We do not need to worry about highlighting the round. Again, we need to highlight everything, less the round. And we need to highlight that outer edge, because if we don't, it will mow this down and we will lose this 1.5" wall all the way around. I told you we need this for a glue edge and to screw to the top. So let's also highlight that, just like you were doing a 2.5. Hit calculate. Alright, now let's preview all toolpaths. Alright, there you have it. This is the bottom. What we're going to do next is we're going to program the top with our grid and all our holes. We're going to save this, and once we have our top completed, we're going to pull this back in and we're going to readjust these 4 bars. The centers do not matter, but these 4 bars we're going to relocate. and we'll show you why when that time comes. So basically your bottom's all done. The reason why we did the 2-inch clearance around the tops and in between is, again, I told you I wanted to use a 1.5-inch spoiler board bit, and I didn't want to have to do a bit change to swap out, say, a 1/4 inch to cut our 2-inch or 2.5-inch hole, where we would also have to put a 2.5-inch hole down to the table of our machine so that our vacuum or our pump system or whatever it is that we're going to use to make this work will be able to get hooked up, okay? Or if you chose, you could probably come in through an end, all right? But for the sake of this example, we're going to be running our air down through the bottom of our table, okay? Well, stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. We're going to pull up a new fresh copy of Vcarve Pro, and we're going to get started on how to do your top, okay? All right, we'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. It's round 2. Let's get ready to do our top, shall we? Okay, now before we get started on that, one thing I want to do is I want to pull our bottom back in, because as I told you, I am not going to be ripping down on my table saw or even in the machine sides. We're going to basically sandwich 2 pieces of MDF together. Therefore, I am going to need to hog out the underside of my lid, or the top where the grid and all the holes go, where our material will lay on top of that we're actually looking to hold down, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to this pocket in the center, and let's pull up our preview tool pass. I'm going to check, yes, my center pocket. I'm going to reset, and I am going to preview that visible tool path only. Bear with me for 1 minute. Alright, now as you can see, the center hole is not there. We do not want the center hole, because basically now at this point what we're going to do is we're going to flip this back upside down. This will be on the underside of our spoiler board, and we're going to get ready to do the surface, okay? So please bear with me for 1 second, and we'll get rolling on that. Alright, let's create our new file. We know that we are 24 by 36. I always start my Z-axis off the top of the material I'm working on. My date and position, I always start everything from the centers. My unit of measurement is inches. We click OK. Alright, now the first thing that we know is we have to go in and we have to create that 1.5-inch border all the way around, and we need a 1.5-inch internal radius, because we are going to be using a 1.5-inch spoiler board bit. Okay, so let's do this. Now on our width, 1.5 is 3, less 24 will make it 21.0, 36 less 3 will make it 33.0. We're doing a radius of 1.5. We're going to click Apply. We're going to close this. Let's go to Transform Objects, Align Selected Objects, Centering. Alrighty. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start laying out our grid, and our grid is going to basically be in 1-inch increments. We'll come up here, we'll right-click, we're going to start our guidelines, we're going to insert a horizontal. Now I'm going to start right at the very top. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to add another guideline. I'm going to insert it horizontal. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put him at 17 inches. Great. I'll right-click. Guideline. I'm going to start with 3 of them. Obviously the first one I'm not too concerned with. We're at the very top. The second one I'm not too concerned with. I'm going to pull the third one down. And then I'm going to pull this one down. Alright. First thing we're going to do is we're also going to take, we're going to put in some vertical guidelines now. I think I may put these in all the way across. And again, I am going to do all of these in a 1-inch increment. Alright, now I have got all my vertical guidelines in. I've only got a few horizontals in, and we'll see in a minute why. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to start all my rounds that I want. We're going to make these 250 thousandths. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to copy, and we're going to paste. We're going to work them right across, making sure that we drop our center node on our horizontal and our vertical guidelines, okay? So without making you sit through this, what I'll do is I'll get these done, and then we'll resume the video, all right? Alrighty, and we are just about at the end of this. All I keep doing is I right-click, and I copy, and I paste each one that I move, and then I make sure that I am centered as best as I can absolutely get them on the vertical and horizontal guidelines. Alright, now what we're going to do is this. We are not going to sit here and right-click, copy, and paste all of these 250 thousandths holes. What we're going to do now is we're going to come in here, we're going to light them all up, every one of them. Hold down your Shift key and unhighlight your border. But I want you to highlight all your rounds. You're going to see your nodes all light up. You're going to right-click, you're going to copy, you're going to right-click, you're going to paste. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull them down, get this one middle one centered, come up to Align Selected Objects. You're going to center them on your Y-axis, which is this line right here. You're going to close them out. Now what you're going to do is you're going to come in, unhighlight everything. Again, hold down your Shift key. You're going to highlight everything again. You're going to unclick that border. You are now going to zoom in, right-click, copy, right-click, paste, hovering over, highlight, drag your next set down. And again, you're going to eyeball these about the absolute best that you can, but use your transform objects, your align selected objects, to always center yourself on either one of your two axes. In this case, we're using our Y. Great. We can close out. Now what we'll do is we'll come in, we're going to highlight all four. Hold down the Shift key, unclick that outer edge, scroll up. Again, I'm going to scroll in to my center line here for my Y. I'm going to highlight him. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to copy. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to paste. And now we're going to bring this down again. However, we can see that I don't have any guidelines in place. So let's just unhighlight all of those for a minute, and we're going to take our top guideline, and now we're just going to roll him down. Line him up on our 1 inch. You can see right below my arrow it says 12 inches. Great. I will come back in. I will highlight up these 4 rows. I will hold down my Shift key. I will unclick this outer. We'll get this one lit. Eyeball your center. I'd say that's pretty close. Transform objects. Align selected objects again. Center them on your Y-axis. Great. What we're going to do, and we're just going to keep doing this, and I'm going to move my guidelines down as I need them, versus sitting here and putting in 36 of them all the way down. Trust me, it gets a little time consuming. So we'll just take and we'll move this one down to where it's marked 8. We'll come in here. We're going to highlight all these rows. Hold down your Shift key. unhighlight your outer. It's just repetition. That's all that it is. And that's why I keep repeating myself. And even though I know I'm probably driving you half crazy, repetition, repetition, repetition. That to me is a lot of what CAD is. All right? We'll highlight all of them now. Right-click, copy, right-click, paste. And now we're going to drag the whole shooting match down. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to try to line the center of that hole up absolute best that I can. We're going to come over to Transform Objects, Align Selected Objects. We'll realign him on the yellow. Let's zoom in. I don't like my center. I'll highlight him again. And we'll move him up just a titch. Zoom in, take a peek. I moved him up too far. This is basically how we're going to work him, back and forth, back and forth. If you knock him out of your center, go back up, realign him on the y-axis. Zoom in, give or take a few thousandths. That's not too bad. Alright, I'm going to finish these out, and then the next step from here is we're going to get to the bars, okay? But that's it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to highlight all of these, I'm going to drag them down, I'm going to drag a couple guidelines down for reference, and this will complete all of our holes, okay? So bear with me, we'll be right back. Alrighty, well, I've now got all the holes for our grid laid out. Now it is time to start laying out the grid. Now what I'm going to do there is this. We're going to come in, and basically we're going to be doing a lot of copying and a lot of pasting. There's not going to be a lot of tool paths with this, mind you. But nonetheless, we are going to have them. Let's come down to Create Vectors. We're going to draw a rectangle this time. And let's come down to, let's say, oh, we'll do it off to the side here. I know that I want this to be 125 thousandths, and the other thing that I now need to know real quick, let's close this out, and I'll go to Transform Objects. I need to do 125 thousandths. We'll click Apply. Alright, now I will take and put him directly in the center. Now we'll zoom into our center, and we can see that it runs right through our holes, which is ultimately exactly what we were looking to do. Okay. However, what I need to do is I need to find the center of this hole over to the center of this one. So let's jump on our Add Dimensions to a two-dimensional drawing. I'll go here. I'm going to come over here, find the center of this hole, and our measurement is 20 inches. Great, that's all I needed to know. You can right-click, or actually highlight him, right-click, delete him, come back down to your bar, highlight him, come up to Transform Objects, Set Selected Size. I want to unclick Link X and Y, and I'm going to put him at 20.0 inches. Click Apply. Now this is what's happened. We will come back to Transform Objects. Let's center him. I basically want this to run into the center of my holes. Now I'm going to start the exact same process all over again. I am going to come in here, I'm going to highlight him, I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy, I'm going to right click, I'm going to paste him, I'm going to pull him up to the center of this hole. I'll eyeball him the best I can. He looks pretty good. I'll come down here to Align Selected Objects, and I will select his alignment off the Y, the center of the Y-axis. Same thing again. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to highlight the both of these. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to copy. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to paste. Highlight them. and I'm going to drag them up. I am going to eyeball and center these about the best that I can. Alrighty. Same thing again. We're going to come in now. We're going to highlight all 4. Right-click, copy, right-click, paste. Pull them up. Again, repetition, repetition, repetition. Now you're going to notice that some of our lines, they start to get out of our holes. This to me is not all that critical. It is by no means the end of the world. So what I'll do is we'll just try to cheat everything so that we cover the holes the best that we can. And again, right click, copy, right click, paste. And we'll drag these up. Alright, and as you're going, when you get to the end and you just have an odd row, obviously all we do here is we'll just highlight this one bar, right click, copy, right click, paste, and we'll drag this one bar up. Again, center him the best we can. Center him on our Y. Close him out. All we'll do is we will come up here. I don't need to take the one that's dead center, but we'll take every one above it. We're going to highlight all of them. Highlight them again. Right click, copy, right click, paste. Bring them all down. Zoom in, and again, we're just going to eyeball these the absolute best that we can. We want to make sure that we're covering the bulk of the holes the best that we can. Alright, alright. Alright, well good. Now, we're going to basically do the exact same thing for the verticals. I'll pull one in, which will basically be same thing we just did. We'll come down and we're going to go on my width. We're going to go 125 thousandths. We'll click apply. And same thing again, we can close this. Let's come up to our measurement tool. We're going to need to find the center of our hole. We'll need to come down. Then we'll need to measure the center of this hole. And we are, measurement says 32 inches. Great. Close out our measurement thing here. Right click, you can delete that, we don't need it. Let's highlight our vertical again. Come back to transform objects. And again, we're going to come in, we're going to put him at 32.0. We'll click apply. You can take him, transform objects, knock him into the center. And now if we come in and we look at the center, we can see where he is. We're going to start the whole process all over again by right click, copy, right click, paste. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight him. I'm going to drag him over. Alright, again, we'll highlight the 2. The 2 will become the 4. The 4 will become 8, so on and so forth. I'll pause this, and what we'll do is I'll go in, I'll get all these done up for you, and then we'll commence the video just to keep the time of this down, okay? Alright, hang on folks, I'll be right back. Alright, well we finally got our grid all laid out. Our holes are all in. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start deleting guidelines. I don't need them in place anymore. We're just going to take and get these right the heck out of here. I know that there's plenty of them, so please bear with me. Alright, all the guidelines are out. Now, if you recall, I told you that we needed to bring in the bottom that we just did, and I'm going to show you why right now. Let's zoom in on this. Okay, we can see the underside. Hopefully you can see this okay, highlighted in pink. Here are our underlying supports. Now this one over here, I want to be able to cover and utilize some of these holes as my screw holes. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to right click. I'm going to put a horizontal guide back in because I don't want to lose the placement of the heights of these. What I am going to do is I'm going to highlight him. I'm going to come over and I want to put him basically to the center of this. Great. Same thing over here. I'm going to come in, I'm going to highlight him. We're going to move him into the center. Great. Now, I'm going to come down to the bottom. Again, we don't have to bother with these centers because these are perfectly aligned on our y-axis center. What I will do is I'll come over here. Again, I don't want to lose the position. I'll bring in my guidelines. I will pop in horizontal. Great. Let's highlight him. Let's bring him over to the center of these holes. Great. Same thing on this side. You've only got to move these 4. That's it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take out some of these 250 thousandths holes that we don't need in here. Okay, we're going to remove this one. And then what we'll do is we'll take out like every third or every other. Oh, don't want to do that. Let's go back. All right, we're going to take out this round. And we'll take out that round. We'll come down. I'll take out that round. Oh, goodness gracious. You're working a little tight quarters here, so just be careful with... Alright, there's that one. We may not always get an even number here, so... Alright, and then what's left are the holes here, so that by the time we sandwich this thing together, these air intake holes are actually going to be your screw holes, which will line up exactly with the underside bars that we put in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I am going to take out the holes that we don't need. Alright, now we have finally got everything where we need it. Let's go in, let's right click, let's delete these guides now that we don't need them anymore. Again, I don't know if you can see this, hopefully you can. We have got the holes taken out that we don't need. We're gonna leave, oh, and I forgot this one here. Let me grab this one really quick. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to do is I have properly aligned what I needed to align. So, we've taken the holes out that we need to take out. What we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to get rid of these bars now. We do not need them. And we can take out this one extra outer layer. Okay, now let's get ready to cut some tool paths. Alrighty. Oh, and we can get that circle out of the middle because we don't need him either. Alright. Now as far as your top goes, you are only going to be required to use 2 bits. This border is strictly in here for reference. This will not be on the surface, only the holes and the grid. So let's cut those right now. The first thing I'm going to do, we're going to open up a pocketing toolpath. All right, and with our pocketing tool path, what we're going to do is we're also going to rechange our cut depth here. And we'll go down, let's say, we'll say 90 thousandths. And what we're going to do is, the first one, we will do horizontal. And we need to change our bit around. We're going to use an end mill that is 125 thousandths, just like if you were doing holes for your cribbage boards. Again, set your feeds and speeds to what you need. Click OK. Come down, highlight all your horizontals, every one of them. Alright, all the horizontals are lit up. Let's make sure that we have our cut depth again at the correct depth. We said 90 thousandths. Alright, there goes the horizontal lines. We're going to do the exact same thing again. We're going to open up our pocketing tool path. We'll keep it at 90 thousandths. We're going to use our 1/8 inch end mill. And let's highlight all of our verticals. Make sure your outer border isn't highlighted. And try to make sure you don't have any circles highlighted. This will be, we'll call it vert for vertical. Let's click apply. Let's close this out. Double check, make sure everything's lit up. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a tool bit change. We're going to swap it out to a 1/4 inch end mill. And we're going to do this under a drilling parameter. We are going to go down we'll go 765 thousandths. What we're going to do here is this is a little bit of a pain in the neck, but highlight everything. Hold down your shift key. Unclick your outer border. Alright. Come across, holding down your shift key, unhighlight all your verticals. Do the exact same things on your horizontals. Make sure your outer border again is unclicked. Now the only thing that we have got lit up are all our rounds, okay? Let's hit calculate. Yeah, we know we're going to go through. We're going to reset our preview. Now let's assign this one color black. We'll assign this one color black. We're going to leave everything else as far as the drilling parameter is concerned with the holes where they are. Alright, and that is pretty much it. We have now taken and we have rerun our 2x4. We have a 1.5 inch border. Okay, real quick. The other thing that I probably want to do here, not probably, I do want to do, is we're going to need to put some screw holes around this outer border. 1.5, 1.5. I know that my halfway here would be 3/4 of an inch. Let's do a couple guidelines. I know that from the very tip top up here. Alright, now we've got all our guidelines in, and we basically, all we did there was I set them halfway on a 1.5 inch gap, so 3/4 of an inch for our centers all the way around our rim. We'll create vectors. We're going to draw a circle. Let's come in here, and for the sake of, I really don't want to change out bits, I'm going to still use my same 1/4 inch end mill. Let's copy and then let's paste him. Yeah, here we go. And we're just going to put enough around the outer edge so that between the screws and the glue, everything's going to hold. We don't have to worry about anything lifting or coming apart. Alright, So I will get these. I will get these in around the edge, and please bear with me. And again, we'll be right back. All right, I have put all of our holes in around the edges. I basically shot a few across the top and a couple down the side. Kept everything centered as best I could. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is basically your grid. We have. We'll go in, we'll preview all the toolpaths one last time. And if we have to, we can set all of these in black. We've got our screw holes for our outer edge. We've got all our holes in the middle, and we've got our track set up so that, lo and behold, this will basically sandwich right on top. Now, this being the underside right here, I told you, this is the one that will, in fact, get the pocket before we run the top. Alrighty. I'm going to close this out. We can now, at this point, we can come in, we can get rid of all of our guides, and this can be saved, which is what I'm going to do right now. There is finally one last thing that we have to do. I'm going to show you that real quick, and that will pretty much conclude our blog and our tutorial for today. Okay, so hang on, and I'll be right back. Alright, there is one last thing that we need to do here. Now, I'm going to pull the bottom back up. As you recall, we pulled the top, our vacuum top with the grid, and we pulled our bottom in. We realigned the bars, and we ended up taking the holes out. However, we were not able to save the bottom. We were only able to realign the bars and take the holes out on the top. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull in the vacuum table top. We're going to superimpose it. What I'm going to do now is I am going to come in. I'm going to hold down my shift key. I'm going to right click. I'm going to put in horizontal guideline. Again, I told you I don't want these to get knocked out of the way. Let's move him over. I'd say that looks pretty good there. Double check the top. We're good. We told you that our middles are already all set. Our rectangular bar here and here are good. The only adjustment that we have to make are to these four. I'd say that looks pretty good there. However, I did move it down from my top a little. And this can sometimes be a little nerve-wracking just to keep messing with it. Alright, that one's good. We'll get the two on the bottom. I'd say that looks pretty good. Now, this is where it gets to be a little bit of a pain in the neck. We're going to go in and we're going to need to physically strip out the top that we just laid over our bottom, okay? We'll come in. We don't need any of our guidelines. We don't need any of our holes across the top to where we're going to screw anything. All we wanted to do was realign the bars on the bottom. And you're going, Steve, we already have done that. No, what we had already done was we ended up taking the holes out on our first step. We need to realign the bars on this step. I will come in. I will highlight all my verticals. This program's already saved. All you did was draw it in. We're going to get rid of all of these. Next thing we'll do, we'll come in here, highlight the whole job, hold down your shift key. Unclick your outer border. Unclick your boxes, because make sure if you click a circle though to re-click it, holding down your shift key, hold all this stuff down. Hit delete. Alright, now what we're going to do, we'll just go File. We're going to save this. Now we have realigned our 4 bottom bars to line up with our top. And there you are, ladies and gentlemen. You are basically all set. Again, you'll run this bottom. You'll do your center hole first. Then you'll do your center. You'll make sure that that circle is unchecked. You want to pocket everything out. You've already drilled this hole. You'll hog everything out. Your bottom is done. You'll bring in your next sheet. You're going to do this exact same thing with only this one pocketing center step without your hole. You'll flip the material over, and then you'll run your lid, which is your top, which is our grid with our horizontals and our verticals, and all our holes, our outer flange matches, and basically you'll sandwich, glue, and screw. That was the easiest way, but you can see that this was obviously this was a little time consuming. I tried to keep it as short as I possibly could. I hope everybody got a little something out of this today. As always, if you ever have any questions, you're confused by anything that I showed you, do not hesitate to send us an email, steve@littlewoodshop.com. You can contact us through social media, and feel free to shoot a question, and I will get back to you guys and you ladies as promptly as I can, okay? As always, thank you for your support. I hope you're having a great weekend. I've got a little rain in the upper northeast, but hey, that's okay. Rainy weekend is still better than a sunny day inside at work, okay? So, again, take care, have a great week, and we'll see you Wednesday for the midweek shout-out. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.